Hello, I'm Montana Mendy with Travis CI. I want to thank first droidCon and specifically letting me do this presentation. This is kind of an introductory um, project I kind of wanted to share, and essentially it's setting up an Android project with Travis CI. And it's ubiquitous in the sense that with licenses and things, you'll see as soon as I get into the YAML file on how that works. But I guess we'll kind of jump right into it. But right before that, just kind of a quick introduction about me. I've been working for Travis CI for a little over a year. I'm a Rails engineer there and also a DevRel. So kind of a jack of all trades, if you will. The Travis DevOps lifecycle, as I see it, is in 4 phases. So we have phase, job, stage, and build. And you'll hear about stage and build a little bit more as we go along in the presentation. These are critical when you get into matrices and a lot more complicated things. Jobs, of course, you can name them. And again, we'll get into that. And anytime we want to add Travis into a project, it's fairly simple. We try to make it as simple as possible, at least. So you have a project. Hopefully you used RubyMine or Vim or whatever it may be, or anything that you wish. Create a repo and pick your VCS, GitHub, Bitbucket, Assembler, GitLab, whatever it may be. And in the root directory, you want to create a file called .travis.yaml. And that we will get into a bit. And then, of course, in your Android project, there's going to be licenses you want to copy. And then, of course, you're going to want to do the all-time favorite command, git init, which initializes the Git repo, and then git add dot. I think hopefully you know the rest. So we're going to have a look at a Travis YAML file right now. This is one that is for droidCon. So let's get to it. So you'll see there's a couple of things here. There's language, of course, Android, and we have a couple of Gradle scripts here. One's going to be debug, assemble, and then obviously build. And you have all your components here, tools, build tools, add-ons, anything extra. What can get confusing to some people is the bash syntax when it becomes a little bit more complicated. For the sake of time, I've kind of made this into a condensed version, but you kind of get the point when you start an Android project and how easy it is to actually implement a Travis.yaml file. So we're going to exit this. And there's probably a couple of things you want to do before you push it to GitHub. Locally, you want to run Travis lint. So as you can see, make this a little bigger. It'll say, oops, sorry about that. It'll say, hooray, Travis YAML looks valid. And then you'll want to do something, do Travis log. So if you have built on Travis before, you'll want to see kind of what your last log said, if you remember. In this case, the last log that I did, we had a build successful. It took roughly 6 seconds. And then, of course, if you have maybe a new member coming on board, they can run through the history by doing Travis history.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think you're still sharing your Google Chrome. You need to change the screen share to the full screen.
Oh, okay.
The whole screen.
Is this
not just the Chrome window?
Okay. So yeah, when I do that, it says pause. So my terminal is up though. This is what I was told by. Hold on, let me see if this will work. Yeah, so this is what I was told to do, essentially. So my terminal is up. I don't know if I can actually stop sharing. I know I was told not to do that, but
yeah, yes, just stop the share and restart and share your whole screen instead of the Chrome browser.
Okay, well, all right, let's see.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. Sorry about that. All right, so let's do that again. So we are going to go back to everything. Oops. Let's do this. So let's go back to the Vim. Let's go back to the actual YAML file itself. Here we go. And as you can see, again, like I was talking about, you have Android, a couple of Gradle scripts here that you want to be really cognizant about, build and assemble debug. And then all your classic components for Travis. And then, of course, licenses. Licenses, these can extend to 10 or 11. I've seen 12 even. It just really, really depends on your project. But for the sake of things, like I've said, I've kind of compressed this down a little bit. So, so what we're going to do is we're going to exit out of Vim. And we're going to do something that I think everybody should do before pushing to GitHub is lint. You want to lint your YAML file to make sure that it passes. So we're going to do Travis lint. And then you'll get, hopefully, this message, hooray, Travis YAML looks valid. So that's good. And then we want to do Travis logs. So just remember if we have built in the past, what was going on. So we'll run that. And you'll see we had a successful build, and that was only 6 seconds, given how small the YAML file is. Sometimes this can take up to 5 minutes, depending on matrices and things like that. And then I really think the last thing, if you have a new member come on board your team, like I was saying, is to do Travis history. And what this will do, you'll see is it'll show you when your builds have passed or erred, and it will show you what you did or what the commit message was. So I think it's very, very clear for the person to see where the build's going. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. Hopefully no issues there. Okay. So a lot of people ask, why do you need Travis? For us, obviously at Travis, we use Travis. It's instant feedback on broken code. So if anyone pushes anything broken, we get notified. Obviously, we can go back, and it's kind of like a stay safe mode. Early notifications of conflicting changes, whether that be a dependency problem, what have you. And of course, you can set up cron jobs for frequent code checkups. And this ultimately, in my experience, incentivizes the engineer to create modular and really less complex solutions. So if you have kind of a smaller dev team, you can really work across the board a lot quicker. And then last but not least, the option to run unit test, deploy to staging, whether that be Heroku, Firebase, whatever that may be, run smoke test if you want, and then ultimately you want to deploy that to production so people can obviously use your great creation. A couple of problems that I see a lot in the forums that I'm constantly solving and helping people with, some classic gotchas as I call them. The first one is over caching. So caching is great in Travis, usually saves a lot of time. You can even cache arbitrary directories where you might write your own dependencies. Problem with that is I've cached up to almost a gig. I think it was 950 megabytes before by cache overuse. And in this particular case, removing cache improved build time. So if build time is something important, which obviously it is to you, try that and it will work. Secondly, misusing the Travis branch syntax. This will be set to the target as opposed to the origin branch. In some cases, very rarely, you'll need to shell out Git itself to fix this. And usually you can fix it with git stash, but and if that doesn't work, obviously there's a community forums, but git stash in this issue usually works. The next gotcha really is 2 builds per pull request. And what this actually means is right when you deploy Travis, and right when you do that .travis.yaml, this means one build is for the branch and one is for the PR itself. So the build pushed branches and the build is pushing PRs. And what you can do is the stages, the build stages and the branch stages can control this behavior in the UI. So you can actually turn this on and off. Some people prefer this, but in my experience, a lot of people see this to be kind of not really a hassle, but just they'd rather have the latter. So, and of course, everybody wants to know how to optimize the Travis builds, and I think that's really important on any occasion. And these are my own suggestions. More bash syntax, so that means writing your own bash scripts. So you can have a script tag and write your own bash script, and Travis will follow those commands. So you can do bash and then maybe fetch something from curl, something like that. And secondly, give jobs names so you know what they actually do. I've seen a lot of builds where they're in a matrix and there's about 5 to 6 different builds, and next thing you know, you have no idea what these jobs do. It gets confusing. You have a 200-line YAML file and you have to start from scratch. So it's very important to give your jobs names. This will save you lots of time in the long run. I have made this mistake many times, so don't feel bad if you do it. If possible, minimize the jobs you have in a given build matrix. And again, this kind of goes with what I was just talking about. If you can minimize the jobs in a matrix, there's going to be less clutter, there's going to be less confusion. No matter how much notation there is, there's always going to be some confusion, unless if the jobs are really well named. And this, again, is something I see again and again. And I know I was talking about over caching. That is a rare scenario, and that is for huge projects. But on 90% of the occasions, you should really take advantage of Travis's caching and build stage features. And again, remember, don't overcache. These things can save lots of times. They can save hours in some occasions. depending on what you're building on. But if you can overcache, it could cost you even more time. So it's really on some opportunity cost. So just be cognizant of that when you are building. And that really sums up my presentation for Travis because it's so simple. That's why it was so short. We really hope to see you building soon with us. We have a great community support team. I'm on it. So if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out on the community forum or email me personally, and I will be glad to help. Thank you. Not sure if people are supposed to read me these, but I will just start answering them. Thank you. This talk is amazing. Glad I made it. I am very glad that you enjoyed it. This talk is amazing. Thank you, Ben. I really appreciate it. And of course, come to the community forums and I'll be glad to help you if you end with Travis. And sure, that's totally something we can do. I don't know if they will let me do that, but if droidCon will, definitely. Is there a free license for Devs to Trap? Yes, of course. So you can sign up and get free credits at travis-ci.com. And from there, I would read the documentation. It's very well documented. And again, I'm going to hammer it home to go to the community forums. It's just such a great community. And there's a lot of knowledgeable people. So you will not have any issues starting out. But yes, there is a free license for devs to try out for sure. Yes, you certainly can use Travis with Netlify. There is actually an official documentation, and I actually have done that before. So community forums, and I'll get that set up for you. Just head on over. Is Travis CI built into GitHub? We work close with GitHub. So theoretically, yes. But also a lot of other CI/CD solutions are as well. So it really, the example was arbitrary, but yeah, it could be any language. That I think you're talking about my example there. Yeah, that's a really good question. So you can make a PR on GitHub. I'm in the organization, so we look over it, and if we like what we see, we do a review, and then we merge the PR, and there you have it. Your contribution is in Travis. Also, I would say there's a good community within the Travis community forums that all contribute, and these are some really talented people. So I would take a look at that as well. Yeah, totally up to droidCon. I think actually the second time it worked, but don't know if you missed the second try, but we did try it again and it worked. Unless if you're talking about the user interface, which I didn't show much of. But again, we can do that if that is possible.
Tana, you actually still have time to show something, so feel free to share. And yeah, let's go.
Awesome. Okay. Hopefully I'm still showing my whole screen. Let's see.
Wie kriege ich den Slido zu, verflucht?
I'm going to continue. I'm going to actually share my screen now. Is that okay? Okay, so here is the UI, folks. A lot of people are asking to see the UI, so here it is. And this was just kind of the last build I did. And the real good thing about the UI is it's so easy to actually edit configs, look at the job logs. Obviously more convenient than the CLI if you're not comfortable using the CLI like I am. But for example, let's see here, we can restart the build. So you'll see here, it's booting the VM. Here is the YAML file I was showing in Vim earlier. And obviously, these things are not going to be correct. I did not do a git commit. I just rebuilt, so it'll be 13.1. And if somebody does history, that will not be correct. But okay, so it's booted the VM, and really what's nice about the UI, it's really verbose. I would say it's almost more verbose than the CLI in the sense that you can expand these little arrows and see exactly what you're building on, what Docker version, and you'll start to see the licenses here, fetching a lot of stuff using curl. These are the license if you accept. The good news is Travis auto accept these. So if you're going to add a license, make sure you want that to be accepted. And you'll see it really does give you a step-by-step verbose way of doing things. And a lot of people prefer this over the CLI. I personally just work faster in the CLI. That's not to say the UI has a lot of great and probably better features, in my opinion. So you'll see this build here in a minute, and then you'll see what that looks like once the build is complete. There's also one more thing I would like to go over after you build in the UI. If you're going to go back to your CLI, this sometimes is a problem I see on the forum, but you have to give it 5 to 10 minutes to buffer and it will be there. Just let it build. And you'll see up top, building on Android, AMB64 on the master branch. So it's ran lint on its own. So there you have it, build successful. It took a minute. Sometimes it can take a little bit longer, a little less. And this would be the assemble debug. So there's two things that were successfully built. The last thing I wanted to share is, if you can see this, let's go back to my Chrome. Oh, actually, you can see that already. So now after you've built in the UI and you go to Travis history, let's say you run Travis history, you're not going to get the 13.1 right away. So wait 5-10 minutes. This is something I see on the forums a lot. So this is just kind of one of those trivial things. But that is Travis UI really in a nutshell. It's super easy, super convenient. Just a couple of clicks and you have your build and it's set up anytime you push to the repo. So if you have any questions on the UI, I'll be glad to answer those as well. Thank you, Ben Greenberg. I've seen that you were in attendance along with hopefully 16, 17 other people. I appreciate the compliments, folks.
Hi, Montana. Thank you so much for your speech. As of right now, there are no more questions. So yeah, if there's any more questions, we are going to send them to you later. Thank you so much for being a part of DroidCon Americas.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. Had fun.